the game. You don't play to just play it. Come after me. I'm a man. I'm for you. Can't wait. Let's go.
Good morning and welcome to Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show here on Sports Empire Network. Great to have you on the show here this morning. Of course, I am Chris and that is Mo. We're both back. We're both back here for a football Friday. Mo, how are you this morning, sir?
It's like the Wonder Twins. We're back.
That's
so
right.
I'm good. I'm excited. Look, ready to head straight into another great football weekend, not to mention postseason baseball. So I'm psyched.
Mo, let's start the show off with this. I think that you and I, someone has to do it. And I think we've both kind of taken up the mantle of just being the voices of reason every morning here in the world of sports. And I think we do it with style and grace, Mo, I have to say. And we're going to have to do it again this morning. And we're going to have to check Chicago Bear fan because I think they're getting a little hype this morning, Mo. And we're going to talk about that in a second. And we got Freddie on the show later on today. We're probably going to have to check him too. And, it is what it is, right, Mo? We have to be the voice of reason here in the morning. And Mo, we saw, I'll be the first to tell you, I picked Washington last night. I got to stop doing this, Mo. I got to stop picking the Washington Commanders. The last two times I've done that,
they've got me too.
They've laid eggs. I picked them against Buffalo. I picked them last night against the Chicago Bears, Mo. I got to stop doing that. But first things first, Mo, and let's open with this. Congratulations, Bear fan. You haven't won a football game in a year. I don't care how you did it. I don't care what it looked like. I don't care what had to happen for you to win a football game. When you haven't won a football game in 346 days and you finally win a football game, just enjoy it, right, Mo?
Just soak it in. Obviously, these things don't come that often. So yeah, you got to let the kind of let the good times roll. And to be fair, because I had no shortage of Bear fans point out to me last night that this team could easily be 2-2 had they not blown the lead versus the Broncos. And I said, I totally understand that, but we can't really do the if was a fifth. The record is what the record is.
No, 100%. And that's where we're going to start. Be happy about it. Love what happened. Relish the win. But Mo, we also need to look at this from an honest point of view this morning. And the Washington Commanders, they do this. Apparently this is going to be a thing with them. They just have games where their defense shows up and just doesn't play football. It happened against Buffalo. You can say it kind of happened against Philadelphia 2 weeks ago. They gave up 31 to the Eagles. Granted, their offense hung in that game, but their defense didn't play particularly great that game either. They give up 27 in the first half last night. Now, in all fairness to Washington, they were a made field goal away from this being a one-score game with about 4.5 minutes to play. So I need Chicago fan a couple things. One, I need you to realize you almost blew this game. If Washington makes the field goal, you are up by one score with 4.5 minutes to play. The pressure goes back on your defense, which was giving up a crap ton of points in the third and fourth quarter. Your offense up to that point had only scored 3 points in that entire second half. Things were not looking good for you. They obviously missed the field goal. You maintain your 10-point lead. Fields hooks up once again with DJ Moore, and the rest is history. So that it is what it is. I also want to point out the fact that most teams the Bears play for the rest of the season, they're not going to let DJ Moore run wild and just not cover him, which is essentially what the Commanders did. And I will tell you right now, DJ Moore is a good wide receiver. He is not an elite wide receiver. And everything that Chicago did last night ran directly through DJ Moore. He was targeted 10 times. He had 8 catches for 230 yards and 3 touchdowns. The rest of the team, Mo, had 7 catches. It wasn't a situation where the ball was being spread around and DJ Moore was just having a night. He was the offense last night. Kmet, the tight end, 5 catches for 42 yards. The other tight end, 2 catches for 10 yards. He was the only wide receiver to have a catch last night. He was the only wide receiver that had any production in this offense last night. The rest of the offense was 2 tight ends in the passing game. 7 catches, 52 yards. DJ Moore had 8 for 230.
Yeah, I can't get over that. I can't. And look, he's a big physical receiver. I understand that. But if you're the Commanders, you engage him, you reroute him, drop your linebackers deeper, or get some safety help over the top, because the other receivers on that team, they're not beating any one-on-ones. You have to change your coverage. And I didn't understand that, because obviously their front 7, it hasn't been nearly as dominant or as good as we projected them to be. The offense has been fine. Even last night, they got off to a slow start, but they were really good in the second half. But the defense was still just leaking left and right. And the thing is, like you said, it wasn't that Chicago's offense was diverse. They were running the same slants, the same curls, the same little screens over and over and over to the same person. And I'm like, well, just shade your coverages. You know what I mean? Do something different. If man doesn't work, then go cover 2. If that doesn't work, then put a linebacker over the top of him and have your corner behind him. Be physical at the line of scrimmage. Just try something different. That's all I'm saying, because it's not like Fields is the kind of quarterback that can throw you open. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you saw some of the plays, it is a game of inches. They were completions, but they could have easily. There were 2 passes in particular that could have been pick sixes. The DBs just took bad angles, but they should have been pick sixes. So I'm going to give Justin Fields credit for getting the win. I'm going to give him credit for using his legs and playing well. But I feel about him the same way I feel about Zach Wilson. I'm going to need to see it multiple times before I'm convinced this is who he is.
No, and like you said, Mo, one game does not make a quarterback, right? Let's not forget, Mark Sanchez led teams to AFC championship games. There are plenty of quarterbacks in this league that have nice wins on their resume. And I take nothing away from Justin Fields. This was a career. We thought last week was a career day for him. This is another career day for him. But you have to look at it from a fair perspective. And that fair perspective is, look at the defenses you're doing this against. You did it against a Denver Broncos defense that gave up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins. The Denver Broncos defense, which couldn't stop anything against the Chicago Bears. You did this to a Washington Commanders defense that multiple times this year had, 3 straight games actually, has given up more than 30 points. And they lost 2 of those games. No, they lost all 3 of those games, excuse me. And you're looking at a situation where your offense, it's not sustainable. Your offense is not sustainable when you're only throwing to one wide receiver.
Correct.
If you play an average defense, I'm not even saying a good defense. If you play an average defense, they're not going to let you only throw the ball to one wide receiver. They're going to double team him. Why in the world Washington did not double team DJ Moore last night is beyond me. Because what they did do is they benched the one corner who was covering him the first half of the game. He was benched in the third quarter. I said to myself, okay, at least you acknowledge that he can't cover DJ Moore. Got you. But you continue to let him play man coverage. Mo, there was no other wide receiver involved in the game last night. Mooney had 4 balls thrown his way. He didn't catch a single one. Their other wide receiver, St. Brown, he had 1 ball thrown his way. You only threw to wide receivers not named Moore 5 times. 5 times.
And he locked in on him, Chris. Like, he didn't go through reads. He had one read. He was looking directly at Moore. Like, how did you not jump those routes? He was doing the same. I mean, that was the crazy part. And I know if you're a Bears fan out there, you're like, there goes Chris and Mo, they're hammering our guy. I am not. If anything, I'm hammering the Washington defense. I am not coming for Fields or DJ Moore. They did what they had to do. Their team won. But like you said, if the guy gets over 130 yards in the first half receiving, that's an issue. We need to make it a priority that no matter what, he's not getting any more. We're not letting him open. Like if we have to leave one other guys go man to man, we'll do that. If we have to triple cover this guy, which is insane, we'll do that. But and the thing is, Fields literally was just locked in on him. He would drop back. His eyes were on one target, and they still could not stop them. And I just couldn't understand that.
And if he wasn't throwing to Moore, he was running. So literally it was, is Moore open? If Moore is not open, I'm going to run the football.
Which reminds me of somebody years ago, Michael Vick. If Crumpler wasn't open, he's taking off running. He had one read. Dan Reeves had him do one. He didn't have three reads. He had one read. If the tight end's not open, use your legs.
As far as the Washington Commanders go, Mo, we both, in all fairness, we overrated this defense. This defense
I'm guilty.
It is not what it was last season. They are not getting, they are getting the push up front. It's the middle of the field. The linebacker play on this team is absolutely abysmal. And let's be honest, the secondary isn't much better. Not only can they not cover the only receiver that's doing anything on the offensive side of the ball, the scheme also was not there last night. You have, like you said, you have to make that adjustment. You have to bracket more. You have to double him, slide over your other best corner and put him on whoever they have for number 2, which I guess last night would have been Kmet because Mooney wasn't doing anything. No other wide receiver was doing anything last night. So you have to figure if you start doubling more, you're just gonna force Fields to run the ball more. But they couldn't even manage to do that. On the offensive side of the ball, it is what it is. It's going to be development with the quarterback Howell for Washington. Like I said, they were a made field goal away from making it a 30-23 game with 4.5 minutes to go. Who knows what happens at that point? I would like to hope that Chicago still hangs on to win that game, but you don't know. But the offense really played better in the second half. The running game was not there last night. That's something they need to figure out. But at the end of the day, you take out the 10 points they give up in the last 4 minutes of the game, you still have Hal passing for over 300 yards. He did have a stupid interception in the middle of the field that's him developing. That's a play that was open that he should have passed the ball to 2 seconds earlier.
Right. He held on the ball too long.
Yeah. Yep. He was late getting the ball there, and that's where the interception came from. And again, I'm not trying to bash Justin Fields, but when you compare the two, they're both young quarterbacks. They're both developing quarterbacks. But the stuff with Howell, I feel like is coachable. You can coach him to get that ball out faster. He saw it. He saw the right read. He just didn't deliver it quickly enough. You can teach that, Mo. With Justin, I think we're still seeing things where he thinks stuff is there and it's not. Or he's going to force the ball in spots because it's worked the last 3 times, and he's just going to hope it works the 4th time. Now, last night, 100%. It worked every time. Every time he threw to DJ Moore, it was working. So I get it. But if you look at the previous games from this season with Justin Fields, especially late in the game against Denver and a couple of other situations, he forced the ball, and it led to turnovers or it led to bad plays. And that's the stuff where I get frustrated with Fields, is because here we are, he's not 6 games into his NFL career, Mo. He is much further along in his development, and we're still seeing him playing at times like he is only 6 games into his NFL career.
Fair. And I think that some of that has got to be on the offensive coordinator as well as the quarterback's coach, but Fields should shoulder his share of the blame as well. And we can say, yes, he is developing still, but I think he's one of those guys that instinctively he's relying on his legs, and he has maybe too much confidence in his arm strength. right? There were times when Moore was covered well.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, they should have been interceptions. And he threw it there anyway. They were completions, but that was just because the DBs took terrible angles. And he's going to learn from that. All I can say is after watching last night, good game, good win for the Chicago Bears. I judge you case by case. Let's see if there's more progression and development next week when they play. And you know what I mean? We need to get a bigger sample size. I really couldn't judge Justin Fields off of last season because they were a terrible team and he literally was running for his life. Like their best offensive plays were pass plays where he took off running.
No, I completely agree. And Mo, I'll be honest. And here we're going to wrap this segment up, and I'm going to go glass half full for a Chicago Bear fan. Here is your upcoming schedule. You have the Vikings. That's a winnable game. You have the Raiders. That's a winnable game. You have the Chargers. If their defense continues to play horrible and your defense plays like it did last night, that could be a winnable game. You then have the Saints and you have the Panthers. Let's say the Chargers is not a winnable game. Let's say that you shouldn't win that game on paper. 4 of your next 5 games are very winnable games.
Agreed.
So what do, Bears? Do you go out there and do you build on this success? Do you build on this confidence that Justin Fields is building? Do you start game planning and doing and highlighting what he does best over the next 5 games that realistically you should probably win at least 3 of them, right? I mean, if Justin's taking the next step and you really are turning that corner, when you have a schedule like this where your next 5 games, 4 of them are very winnable, one of them is going to be a challenge game, I think your goal has to be win 3 of your next 5. If
At
you go
least
out
3.
there, Mo, and you only win 1, and you go 1-4 of your next 5, then we're going to sit here and say, nope, he wasn't turning a corner. This is just like that 3-game stretch last season where he was on all the highlights and he was breaking out. He was the next big thing, and they were still losing. So there comes a point where it's great to see the highlights. It's great to see the stats, but it has to consistently translate into wins. And that's not all on Justin Fields because the defense has to do their part as well. But unfortunately, when you are supposed to be a franchise quarterback and things are not going the way that they're supposed to be going, right or wrong, this is the way the NFL works.
There's a burden.
Shoulder part of that blame. And Mo, that's going to transition us into our next conversation about another quarterback who is shouldering a lot of the blame for his franchise's current failures or semi-successes, and that is Daniel Jones with the New York Giants. So you look at Daniel Jones over his first handful of years in the league, and I think it's very fair to say that he was an average to a below average quarterback. Now, they bring in Brian Daboll last season, someone who worked wonders with Josh Allen, getting Josh Allen cleaned up, putting Josh Allen in positions to be successful based on Josh Allen's skill sets. Daboll comes in and he does similar things with Daniel Jones. Right away, and he was very vocal about this when he came to the New York Giants, Daboll said that we're gonna cut down the turnovers. We are going to play football that is designed to not turn the ball over. What does that mean? That means that you are going to scheme up more high percentage plays. That means that you are not going to put too much on your quarterback's plate. That means that you're going to take what the defense gives you, and you're not going to be throwing a lot of 50-50 balls out there because you want to mitigate the risk of turning the ball over, because Daboll most likely realized going into his first season with the Giants, we don't have a team that's going to win 35-34 shootouts. That's not who we're going to be. We need to make the most of our opportunities. We need to put our quarterback in the best position to be successful, and then we'll see where we are. And where they were was a playoff team. The New York Giants made the playoffs last year with Daboll in his first season, with Daniel Jones as their quarterback. And then the New York Giants made the decision to pay him like he is a franchise quarterback. Mo, first of all, I think we can both agree Daniel Jones is not a franchise quarterback. A franchise quarterback is a quarterback who by himself is going to win you games. Let's start there. Agree or disagree?
100% agree.
Okay. So Daniel Jones does not win you games by himself. Now, I will be the first one to tell you, Daniel Jones is not the only issue with the New York Giants.
No.
His offensive line is abysmal and continues to get worse because it's being injured all the time. And not only is his offensive line abysmal, I have to ask what the hell the GM in New York is doing, because you've spent 4 high draft picks on the offensive line over the past 3 or 4 seasons, and your offensive line is still abysmal. That being said, Mo, Joe Burrow's offensive line was abysmal the year he went to the Super Bowl. Good quarterbacks overcome the issues around them. That's what a franchise quarterback does. Daniel Jones also doesn't have weapons around him. He has Saquon Barkley. That's a nice weapon. But when you look at his receiving group, Mo, what does he have? Darren Waller?
Right. And Waller is more name and potential than actual productivity, right? There are times you don't even know Waller's on the field.
And what did he have last year? Who was that receiver from Detroit last year that never played a game?
Right. So they don't really invest in skill position talent, right? Especially on the outside, they don't. And I thought that what Daboll did last year successfully, like you said, he cut down on the turnovers, but he also watered down the offense. The running schemes were the same, but the passing schemes were simple. They were play action passes, and he had 2 reads. And very similar to what they're doing with Fields, if you didn't see the reads, you used your legs, right? They even had design runs for him as well, because he's a very good athlete, very similar to Fields, maybe not quite the athlete, but very, very similar. And so they relied a lot on his running ability. When your quarterback rushes for 600-700 yards, he's one of your primary runners of the football. And this particular season, they haven't used him that way, or at least not well. And that has a lot to do with, yes, the offensive line. I agree 100%. They might have, I won't say the worst offensive line in football, because I still think that resides in Cincinnati. But they're top 3 for sure in terms of worst offensive lines. But like you said, a great quarterback, even with a god-awful offensive line, they know how to come to the line of scrimmage, recognize the coverages, call out of that audible, and make a play in the game, or make a different call in the game. The great quarterbacks can overcompensate. They can compensate for failures or weaknesses in other areas. And I'm not going to kill Daniel Jones because he's not a great quarterback. We have to use this word with guys like him. He's a capable quarterback. He has the ability to make plays. He can help you win. He's in that same category as the other guys that we call game managers. Daniel Jones is a very athletic game manager, but that's what he is, a game manager. I thought coming into this season, the Giants weren't going to make the playoffs. I thought there's no way they were able to duplicate what they did last year and make the playoffs. And so far, so good. They're on pace to being exactly what I thought. They're actually worse than I thought they would be. I thought they'd be a 500 team at this point in the season. And right now, I don't see where their next win is coming from.
No, I agree. And to my previous point, Burrow can overcome the offensive line. Mahomes can overcome not having receivers. He doesn't have receivers. Brady overcame not having receivers. And I understand that we're talking about 2 of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But again, you have to look at the situation that you're in. If you're going to pay a quarterback the money you're going to pay Daniel Jones, knowing that your offensive line isn't where you need it to be, knowing that you don't have elite playmakers on the outside, knowing that once you give him this money, you're going to hamper yourself from bringing those things into the organization, right? Once you do that, and once you make that commitment, that's where we are. So one of 2 things needs to happen. Either Daniel Jones needs to step up and reach that next level if he can, and start to overcome some of the things that his organization is failing him with, or the organization is going to have to look at this situation and say, we were wrong. We gave Daniel all this money. We thought he was going to be the guy. We thought he was going to be able to overcome, and he wasn't able to. That's on us. He wasn't what we thought he was going to be. And I set this conversation up because we're about to bring Freddie onto the show. And I know that once we get Freddie on here, me and Mo are going to struggle to get a word in edgewise. So I wanted to make sure that we set the scene.
One quick thing, let me add
on. Go ahead.
One more thing. When they gave Daniel Jones that contract, who were they bidding against?
Themselves.
Right, but it's not like all the other teams were like, man, if they don't pay Daniel Jones, we're all over that. They're all like they made that decision because they assumed that he was on a peak and getting ready to elevate into to that upper echelon based off of what I would call a very good season, but not a special and elite season. They made that.
That's generous, Mo. 15-5.
Yeah,
15 touchdowns, 5 picks. That's a generous classification of a very good season.
I was really trying to add the running yards in there as well.
Okay,
I mean,
that's fair.
Because that was a big part of the season. And look, I'm sure when Freddie comes on, he'll tell us, 15-5 is more than you think it is. So I got it.
Well, at this point, let's welcome the man, the myth, the legend, the host of Freddie Facts onto the morning show. That, of course, is Freddie. Freddie, how are you this morning, sir?
I'm here. I don't know. I'm disgusted with some things that y'all said, how y'all analyzed this morning. But that's why I'm here to educate, to teach, to put in place, and to deliver. So that's why I'm here this morning.
Well, Freddie, we laid it out for you. You heard our interpretation of what the issue is with the New York Giants. We are putting, I'd say, half the blame on Daniel Jones and the other half of the blame on the Giants organization for not giving him what he needs. But the floor is yours, sir. What is the issue with the New York Giants, and how much of this is the responsibility of their franchise quarterback?
If I had to put any blame on Daniel Jones, I'd put 10%. 10% blame on Daniel Jones. And this is why I say that. This isn't a problem that just happened yesterday. This isn't a problem that happened last year. This problem has been here since the last time the Giants won the Super Bowl. They have been trying to put this offensive line together. But for some reason, on God's green earth, they can't figure it out. They spent draft capital after draft capital after draft capital, free agency after free agency after free agency, and still could not get it together. I know Chris mentioned Joe Burrow. Okay, let's just say the offensive line was the only problem. Joe Burrow still had weapons on the outside. He still had Jamar Chase on the outside. He had none of that. He was Daniel Jones 0 for 2. He had no O-line. He had no weapons. And by the way, we so fast to bring up Saquon Barkley. I can see why they didn't pay him. He's never healthy. He's never available. Where is he now, matter of fact? He's hurt now. Great talent. But it's time to call him the street clothes of football. I mean, because we see him more in street clothes than we do on the football field. I was watching him on Thursday Night Football. I was watching Daniel Jones. I really just felt bad for that brother. I really did. I felt bad. I think the New York Giants should have gave him more money, matter of fact. They should have paid him more money just for the fact that he had to go out there and get the beating that he takes. Because this organization is disgusting. This organization is, they need to fire. The Marr family need to sell the damn team. It's that bad. It's that bad. I mean, it's just a disgrace. This franchise is hunted. See, I'm going to tell you where it started at. See, they should have never treated Odell Beckham Jr. the way that they treated that man. They should have got rid of Eli Manning then and built around Odell Beckham Jr. and Saquon Barkley. But instead, they want to take an aging quarterback, and they're paying for it right now. I don't blame Daniel Jones. You can get Tom Brady to come and play quarterback for this team. What would he do? He won't do nothing much. Probably be worse. He probably get sacked even worse. Because at least Daniel Jones can at least run from half of it. I mean, this team is god awful. It really is. And they went in this season banking on Saquon Barkley to have a season like last year. Y'all remember this dude is injury prone. He's never available. So I'm putting 10% blame on Daniel Jones because of the things that he had to play with on his football field. They have not surrounded him by the talent that would. I like I've always said, I can't judge him until I see him. I'm not even asking to be elite talent. It could be a decent offensive line that can at least protect for him, and it can be decent weapons. And I'm not talking about a Jamar Chase, a Justin Jefferson. I'm just talking about give him 2 to 3 weapons that he can get the football to. That's all I'm asking. Hell, he don't even have a DJ Moore. Y'all just got done talking about Justin Jefferson. He don't have a guy that he can throw the ball to 10 times and get 250 yards. Who's that guy? Darren Waller? One of y'all said that, oh, he disappears. Where was he Thursday night? Where was he Thursday night? I mean, it's horrible. It's awful. It's in the defense, and it's making the defense look bad. It really is. Because guess what? If your defense is out there more than your offense, guess what? Your defense is going to look bad. They're the only team in the NFL, I believe, have not created a turnover yet. I mean, this is bad.
All right, Freddie. So let me ask you this. This was a playoff team last year, correct?
With some changes, yeah.
Okay. So coming off a playoff season, the offensive line is basically the same. The weapons that Daniel Jones has are basically the same. What's different on the offensive side of the ball?
Bro, and we can't sit up here and say that schedules don't mean anything. Mo, if this team was 500, that would be a huge accomplishment. You open the season up going against the Dallas Cowboys, going against that elite defense that they have. You get mollywopped. I mean, it was bad. Then you play the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, they won, came back, and they had to come back to win that game. Then you play against San Francisco 49ers, who in a lot of opinions is the Super Bowl champions for this upcoming season. And then you play a good Seattle Seahawks. So let's pump the brakes. Their schedule was a little bit on favorable last year. But if you look at the schedule this year, I mean, good God. I mean, if they was 500, that's a championship season towards the New York Giants. So that would have mean they would have either knocked off the 49ers or the Cowboys. But like I said, Chris, Saquon Barkley's been out, 2 games now? 2 or 3 games now? He is a big part of this offense. And yet again, he's not available. I can see why they did not pay him, because when you need him the most, he's not available. And this hurt the cases for the running back committee, by the way, because he took a chance. He said, you know what? Instead of me sitting out fighting for the money, I'm gonna go ahead and sign the lesser deal, and I'm gonna play football. And we can't even get halfway through the season, and he's already dealing with a high ankle sprain. Already. So this is the problem when you bank on one guy.
I do.
This is what happens you bank on one guy, your offense. That's Saquon Barkley.
So, Freddie,
go ahead, Chris.
Looking at the Giants' schedule last season, let's just look at it and we'll compare it. So the Giants opened up playing a playoff team last season in Tennessee. They beat them. Then they had an easy game with the Panthers. Then they lost to the Dallas Cowboys. Then they had the Chicago Bears. But after the 4th game of the season, they went on to beat the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers. They went on to beat the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson.
Can we stop, Ruth?
Nope. They went on. Hang on. They went on to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence. And then they went on to lose to the Seattle Seahawks. So I understand that this season's schedule was a little more challenging to start, Freddie. But I also want to point out that this Giants team last season did beat quality quarterbacks.
No, they didn't, Chris.
They didn't beat quality. Trevor Lawrence isn't a quality quarterback.
Oh, Chris, what you're not going to do? You're not going to pin me in a corner. That's what you're not.
You put yourself in the corner, Freddie, when you're trying to say this wasn't Daniel Jones' fault.
No, but Chris, what I'm doing, you bring up the Green Bay Packers. Ladies and gentlemen, can you tell me that Aaron Rodgers had the best season last year against the Green Bay Packers?
I'm sorry. The biggest apologist for Aaron Rodgers in all of Sports Empire Network is none other than Freddie Fax. Are you really going to sit here and try to buff up your Daniel Jones argument by tearing apart Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Christian,
and
we're going to do anything. We're going to
team
speak the facts.
beat him last season.
Christian,
and I guarantee you that you were gloating beyond belief when your team beat Aaron Rodgers last season.
Chris, we got to speak.
And now we're going to jump forward a season. And you're going to be like, well, beating Aaron Rodgers last season wasn't that big of a deal.
Chris,
come on.
Hold on. We're going to do anything. We got to speak facts. We got to speak facts.
Because you haven't spoke them yet.
Was this the Green Bay Packers team with Devontae Adams?
Yeah.
With all those, no, it wasn't. It was a bunch of guys that Aaron Rodgers couldn't get the football to. That's why Aaron Rodgers looked. That's why he looked average last year. Was this the same Green Bay Packers team that did not make the playoffs, that lost to the Detroit Lions? Yes.
Yeah.
That was not. So let's not sit up here and act like that was some great quality team.
He had average receivers. Daniel Jones had average receivers, right? Same thing. And he didn't have his best season. Daniel Jones had a career season, got $140 million, and Aaron Rodgers still had a better season than Daniel Jones. So
guess what? You know what?
He didn't beat a watered down Aaron Rodgers. He beat Aaron Rodgers.
Mo, you know what? Daniel Jones didn't even have a Chris Watson. He didn't even have a guy that can create his own separation.
And he went to the playoffs last year.
Won. That's the thing.
Right. And you know why? Because Saquon Barkley was on the field.
Oh, Saquon.
He was on the field.
He's important.
Got it.
He's their main offensive piece.
So what you're saying is you have a quarterback. I agree. What you're saying is you have a quarterback who cannot win without an elite running back behind him.
No, we have a quarterback that has been submitted, I pray for this, bro. Like I said, I feel bad for Daniel Jones because he's been put in a situation where he has no O-line, he has no weapons, he has a running back that cannot stay healthy. That's what we have.
He didn't have an O-line last year. He didn't have receivers last year either. They went to the playoffs.
No. You know what?
Yes.
No,
that's exactly what happened. And he got a raise. Why feel sorry for that guy? He got a raise.
This is what we do. We cannot compare last year and this year. Like I said,
Freddie,
you're right. We can't do that.
Let me ask you a question.
You was rooting for you knew the Giants were going to be good. I knew they were going to be bad. Everything that's happening now, it's not breaking news for me.
Let me ask you a question. Where do you rank the Cowboys defense?
Top 5.
Top 5.
Top 3. It's not top 5. Top 3.
It's top 5. You can run down their throats if you want to. It's top 5.
Where do you rank the San Francisco 49ers defense?
Top 5.
Where do you rate? Okay, and hey, Seattle's a good team, correct?
They are. I don't know.
So what do we expect them to do against a San Francisco 49ers team that people expect them to be in the Super Bowl? They say the Dallas Cowboys, if you hear their fans, they're destined for championship as well. All I'm saying is schedules matter. And Chris, don't you bring me up anything about a Green Bay Packers team. And the Tennessee Titans, please, let's not sit up and act like they're just a whirlwind team that nobody can beat. Let's not sit up and do that.
All I'm saying, Freddie,
the
Giants beat quality teams in the first half of their schedule last season, and you're going to make it sound like they didn't do that. They did.
They beat quality teams. They did not beat teams like the Cowboys.
They beat Trevor Lawrence. You're right. No, you're right.
No, they did not.
You're right. They didn't beat the Cowboys because they're not as good as the Cowboys, and they didn't beat Seattle because they're not as good as Seattle. And look where we are this season. They're still not as good as the Cowboys, and they're still not.
They did not beat teams like
Seattle.
San Francisco neither.
Freddie, the Giants played over their heads last season. They were a 6 or 7 win team that found a way to win some close games, and they snuck into the playoffs. And Giant fans got hyped up about it and thought they were going to see a repeat this season. And Mo and I have been on this all season. This is another 6-win team that's most likely going to actually win their 6 wins this season and not be overinflated and find their way into the playoffs.
I agree with you. That's fine, Chris, and I agree with you. But what did not sit right with me is when you try to put most of the blame on a quarterback that has been submitted to trash, who's been submitted to by an organization who cannot do their job. That's what I can't not allow, because what I'm saying,
Freddie, it's the quarterback's job to lead the team.
No,
yes,
you can only do you can only do what's around you. You can only do so much around you.
You're right. And it's the quarterback's job to make the most of what's around him. That's the way the position works. There are 32 franchise quarterbacks in this league.
Chris, let me ask you a question.
Good.
Aaron Rodgers look average. Tom Brady, his last year in New England, didn't look that great. Right. You know why? Because no matter, even if we're looking at Patrick Mahomes right now, Patrick Mahomes is not having that type of season this year because he don't have a receiver that outside of Travis Kelce that can catch the damn football.
You're right. And who's being blamed for all those? Tom Brady's last season, who was blamed for that team? Tom Brady was. They said he looked old. They said he looked past his prime. Aaron Rodgers last season in Green Bay, what was the narrative? Aaron Rodgers has fallen off the cliff. Aaron Rodgers is washed. What is the narrative this year with Patrick Mahomes? He needs to protect the ball better. He needs to realize what he has.
No, they're not saying that. They're saying that the receivers cannot catch a football. The receivers are dropping balls. That's exactly what they're saying.
No, they're not, Freddie.
Yes, they are.
Freddie, are the Chiefs? What's the Chiefs' record right now?
It don't matter, Mo. I'm just saying.
It does matter. It does matter. The record does matter. The difference is, you're right, Mahomes don't have receivers, and it's not pretty, but they're probably going to find a way to make the playoffs anyway. And all I'm saying is, when you pay a guy to be your franchise quarterback, he better be one of those guys that's actually a franchise quarterback. Daniel Jones is not a franchise quarterback. They made the mistake to pay him that way, and when you pay somebody that way, it impacts your roster construction going forward. They're not going to go out and get explosive players next season because that's not what they'll do. They're going to try to fix that offensive line for the 10th time. It won't happen. They will be a sub 500 team next year as well, too, because they're going to be stuck with an average quarterback who can't lead you but so far.
I'm going to say my last thing, and I'm going to be down this topic. No, they're not stuck with just they're stuck with if anybody should have been traded, it should have been Saquon Barkley.
You just don't like the guy, do you?
No, I love Saquon. I love the kid's talent. But if we're being honest, we got to say the uncomfortable things. Saquon Barkley is not available for this football team. So you trade him, get some pieces around Daniel Jones, fix the O-line, then you can see what you have in your quarterback. Because I have seen at times when he do get some type of protection, he can make some plays. I've seen it.
What are you trading Saquon for?
Hell, some bag of chips at this damn point.
That's all you would get. That's all you would get for a running back. That's all you get for a running back.
At this damn point, because like I said, he's never available. But I love Saquon. I believe that he has the potential to be the best running back in the game. But he's just like Anthony Davis, street clothes Barkley. That's his name because he's not available. He's hurting this team more than Daniel Jones. If I got to put a bigger blame on anybody, it's him. It's him because the way they scheme for this team to win is to run the football with Saquon Barkley and have a good defense. But guess what? I've only seen Saquon like 2 games this season.
So your best player, the running back who didn't get paid, needs to be there for the quarterback who got overpaid.
He needs to be there because the offense is ran through him.
Because he's the best player. He's the best offensive player. He's not paid. Of
course. Well, they have nothing but bag of chips on the outside, so of course.
Right, but at the end of the day, you said it. Most people, whether you think he's injury prone or not, if you analyze him strictly with his ability, most would say Saquon's maybe one of the 5 best running backs in football. Nobody would say Daniel Jones is one of the 5 best quarterbacks, not one of the 10 best quarterbacks.
Because he's never been in that. He's never been in that position, Mo. To show that
he's not good enough.
No, it's not that he's not good enough. I will not say that until I see him be put in that position.
What year is Daniel Jones in? What year is he in?
Mo, it might be because in 4 games this season, he has thrown 6 interceptions and fumbled the ball 4 times. That could be one of the reasons why he's terrible. That could be one of the reasons.
The best thing he can do, don't throw the ball. Just run the ball. Just run the ball.
Correct.
Even in the pass play, just take
Correct.
off and run. Use your legs, man. It's the best thing you do. Just run.
Daniel
All right,
Jones,
gentlemen.
I'm praying for you. I love you,
Maybe
brother.
they should play the wish mode.
I feel bad for you. The New York Giants should give you more money. They should pay you more money. I'm sorry for you, bro.
More money? That dude need to give money back. That's why I like that nickname, Danny Crimes. You need to give back money. He is stealing money.
I feel sorry for him. He's getting killed.
Gentlemen, we're going to switch gears and we're going to hit some NBA topics before we bring Brett onto the show this morning. And Freddie, since we got you here, I'm going to ask you one of the biggest questions heading into the NBA season after our recent trades of the past week. We now have the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics jockeying for basically preseason championship rights, because initially it seemed like all roads to the championship were going to pass through Milwaukee. And then Drew Holiday makes his way over to the Boston Celtics. And now Celtics fans are saying, well, wait a minute. All roads to the championship are going to pass through us in the East. So, Freddie, let me ask you, going into the season, is it Milwaukee that is the best team in the East? Is it Boston that is the best team in the East? Or is it somebody that no one's even talking about, and those are just the two teams getting hyped up because of their shiny new players?
First off, I want to correct Gene. Ingram is no longer with the Giants. He's been with the Jacksonville Jaguars going on year 2.
And killing it, by the way.
With Trevor Lawrence.
He's got a good quarterback.
Yeah, a real quarterback.
What happened to your Miami Dolphins this past week? Okay. So let's talk about.
We're 3-1.
But what happened last week?
We lost.
After y'all dropped 70 against a team that plays no defense, but happened to turn around and play against. Okay.
Yeah, we lost. But hey, you can watch us in the playoffs come December.
Y'all still fold like cheap tents. I'm just saying.
The Giants are like 6 games away from being eliminated from the playoffs. I figure by Thanksgiving they'll be mathematically out of it. That's cool.
But nobody had expectations for the Giants. But you dropped 70. You expect the next week. You expect the next week to at least look irrelevant. Okay, but let's move to the next topic. Let's move to the next topic.
Brady's killing me.
Let's move to the next topic. Oh, and by the way, Joel Embiid feel like the 76ers still is a part of the mix for some reason. With the circus that's going on in Philadelphia. It's clearly the Bucks, you guys. I know a lot of people say Boston. I didn't like the trade Boston did for Drew Holiday. I really didn't. You lost a big piece to your front court. Now you're hoping that Al Horford, who's older version that can hold up the fort. What happens if he go down? What's the next plan? Kristaps Porzingis. Let's not forget about his injury history, ladies and gentlemen. The dude is never available as well. He's a dude that if you bump into him, he'll tear something. That's who he is. And I don't recall him being able to slow down Giannis. I don't ever recall him being able to slow down Joel Embiid. You're going to have somebody in the front court that's going to be able to stop them big bodies. Now, we know Jason Tatum is great. We know the type of talent that he is. But in the last 2 playoffs, we've seen him come up smaller than what he is. I'm just saying. Jaylen Brown just got paid. But it's going to depend on the front court. We know what Drew Holiday is going to bring. He's going to be a 3-and-D guy. He's going to be able to stop you on the defensive end. He's going to be able to lock up your guard. He can knock down some threes. We know what he can do. But this Bucks team, man, I just don't know how can you stop. Man, Giannis is going to have the best season of his life this year because teams is going to be so focused on Dame shooting threes that they're going to have to you're going to have to pick your poison. It's either you're going to, just like how LeBron is, it's either you're going to let Giannis eat on the inside or you're going to let those three-point shots surround it. Because Giannis is surrounded by three-point shooters now. You got Dame. You got Pat Covington. You got Chris Middleton, who's going to shoot the ball at a high clip this year because he won't have to do too much. You still have Brook Lopez, who can knock down the three. So I'm just saying, how can you stop that offense if they're gelling at a high-oiled machine? They're still going to be a decent defense. Yes, no, they would not be that great of a defensive team as it was last year, but they'll still be a good defensive team. You don't have to be great defensively. All you have to do is be good. And we just seen that this year in the championship. Denver isn't a great defensive team. They're good, but they're not great. So let's just knock that out the way as well. And this team has shooting. You even have Malik Beasley coming off your bench, and if he can go back to the days when he's with the Utah Jazz,
I don't know what that means.
if he can go back to the way that he's with the Utah Jazz, knocking down at a 40% clip, which I think he can, because let's not forget, there's some players it's hard to go to a new team in the middle of a season and just continue to pick up. Now he's went through a whole off season. He went through a training camp. I expect Malik Beasley to be a better guy. He's a guy that he can guard the perimeter. He's a guy that can be a defensive guy. So they have talent. I mean, I'm just the lack of front court that the Boston Celtics have. I'm not confident in being able to stop Giannis, Embiid, or anybody like that that's going to be effective in the post.
Mo, floor is yours, sir.
So what I would say is, if this is going to be the Celtics lineup going forward, sure, size is going to be an issue. The size is going to be an issue in the playoffs. It won't be that much of an issue during the regular season. And two, in this current NBA, the way the game is played outside in. And the Celtics have more guys on their team that can create their own shots and beat you off the bounce than Milwaukee does. And it's great that you have Giannis. Giannis, you don't have to wince. It's a fact. Literally look at the rosters. Nothing's changed. Damian Lillard can create his own shot. Giannis to a degree, but it's a different kind of way. It's a big who can do that against other bigs. But look at the other wing players. Middleton's not what he used to be. And Connaughton, if he was as good as you said, you would have saw him in the playoffs. You wouldn't have known he played because he was a no-show in the playoffs. So I'm only going to go off of what I saw. When I'm looking at Boston, when you go Holiday, Tatum, and Brown, never mind the offense, all three of those guys play defense at a high level. And what Holiday does is he gets to the point of attack and he reroutes your point of attack. That's something that Milwaukee is going to struggle with. I'm not saying Dame won't try hard on defense. He's just not any good on defense. That's just a weakness of his. So they will have to compensate for Dame. So I get where people go, well, you got Lopez and Giannis in the paint. And that's great. If somebody gets past Dame and goes all the way to the paint, right, you have two rim protectors. But if you're just attacking on the perimeter, what will Milwaukee do? They couldn't slow Tatum down. They've never been able to slow Tatum down before. What's changed now? Brown's going to be a year older, a year better, and now you add a Drew Holiday who's much more than a 3-and-D guy. We are talking about a 19 points per game scorer, over 7 assists a game. So he's a defensive player who can also drop 20 a game offensively. So I would say he's a better version of Marcus Smart, a much better version of Marcus Smart in my opinion. So I look at the Celtics and I look at the Bucks. I'm not handing out a championship trophy to anybody, but top to bottom, I'll give the Bucks an edge in size, but I'm not going to give them an edge in a series because as great as Giannis is, and he's one of my favorite players, if you send a man to the free throw line, there's this kryptonite right there. A lot of people don't talk about it, but one of the reasons they got destroyed in that series against Miami was in late game situations. The Heat went out of their way to foul Giannis, and the man couldn't hit free throws. And unless he gets over that hurdle this year in the postseason, everybody they face will send him to the free throw line, and they'll take that trade-off. If he makes one or misses both, that's a win. So I don't know. He's got to get over that mental hurdle for me to believe that the Bucks are actually a championship contender. And one last thing, with Damian Lillard, this will be the first time he is on a team that is expected to win it all. It's a different kind of pressure. It's a pressure he's never felt before. So let's see how good he is when the expectations are championship or bust.
Freddie, is there a team outside of those two, Milwaukee and Boston, that could make a run? You know, Heat fans are sitting here saying, well, look what we did last year. 76er fans think that they're still somehow involved in this mix. Is there another team that could come up and push either Milwaukee or Boston out of the way and represent the East in the finals this year? And even if you think there isn't, who has the best shot outside of those two?
Outside of those two, it would be the Philadelphia 76ers. Just because of their size and just because of, they have the MVP. But even then, I still think it's a long shot because we know how Joel Embiid looks when it comes to playoff time. We don't know what version of if James Harden will be there, and if he is there, we don't know what version that you'll get out of him. So they have some question marks on their end that they have to clear up because I just believe you have to have some type of size to beat Boston, to beat Milwaukee, to even, and that team would be the closest. Miami don't have enough. Let's just be honest. Jimmy Butler came to that press conference looking the way he looked for a reason. He's really emotional right now because he know it's about to be one of them seasons. We remember in the bubble how he was leaning over the score table. It's going to be one of those seasons where he's going to have to do so much. Hell, playoff Jimmy's going to have to start October 24th instead of you waiting until April. He's going to start earlier this year because you're going to depend on the Tyler Hero. Which we know Tyler Hero he's a decent player, but he's not a whirlwind player. Bam Adebayo, going to depend on him a lot. They're hoping Kyle Lowry can turn back the clock of time. They have a lot of question marks. This is the first time we've seen Pat Riley just sit back and wait and just wait and wait. They lost. Let's be honest, y'all. They lost some valuable pieces to that team. Max Strus, you lose him to Cleveland. He goes. Gabe Vincent with the Lakers. I mean, you lose some of your biggest pieces on your offensive end that help you space out the floor. So they're going to look average this year.
But they lost those pieces, Freddie, though, anticipating that they were going to get Dame.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I have Philadelphia as the next closest team, but it's not even close, though.
Freddie, always a pleasure having you here on the morning show, sir. If you haven't checked out Freddie Facts, you need to make sure you are checking that out. Freddie Facts, he spits the facts. He gives you the knowledge. He is probably the biggest personality we got over here at Sports Empire Network, and it's always a show when Freddie is involved. Freddie, thank you so much for coming on this morning. We appreciate you, sir.
Yes, sir. Y'all take it easy.
Mo, we had an interesting quote here that I wanted to present to you before we bring Brett on the show. And the quote came from Richard Sherman. And Richard Sherman said the following. He said that Michael Malone had one successful season, and he is going to be an irrelevant, erroneous name in the history books of the NBA. And that was definitely a comment that I think for a lot of people kind of came out of left field. I don't think a lot of people were necessarily expecting that sort of comment. And I have to wonder, first of all, where that take initially came from and what exactly Sherman was trying to get to with that. And we are going to bring Brett onto the show here as well. Brett, how are you this morning, sir?
Doing great. How are you doing today?
Hey, Brett, no complaints here on a Friday as we get ready to make our weekly football picks here on the Coffee and Sports Morning Show. But, Brett, what was your take on Sherman's comments when it came to Michael Malone?
Man, I thought that was pretty crazy of him to say. Like, he's going to be remembered. He might not be remembered as one of the greatest NBA coaches of all time when it's all said and done, but he'll at least always be remembered. Like in Denver Nuggets history, like his historian of the game will probably, know who Michael Malone is for leading Denver to that title. So I thought that was pretty egregious thing to say because it's not like he's some bum coach that's going to be forgotten about. He has a good chance to add a couple more championships to his resume, and he's shown he's a good coach. So I thought that was a pretty off-brand thing to say, just not a good take at all.
And not only was it a poor take, in my opinion, but it was a take basically out of left field. There was no real reason for the take in the first place. And it's interesting for a take to come in that strong when you're looking at a coach that recently has won a championship. And like you said, is pretty much lined up to potentially win a couple more championships over the next handful of seasons. Even if he doesn't, he's going to be favored for the next couple of seasons to win another championship. So, Mo, when you see a comment like that for a guy that just won a title, and I get it, the flash isn't there, the long pedigree isn't there, but a championship is a championship. And when you're favored to win another one potentially this season, I just don't understand where the hate is coming from.
And it didn't really make sense because he was saying that nobody would remember him. He would be irrelevant in the history of the NBA. here's the mistake. The coach that brings your franchise its first title, he will be remembered forever. So let's start right there. He will be remembered forever. The same way that Coach Bud helped the Bucks win their first title in 50 years, they're going to remember Coach Bud. And NBA titles, they're not easy. If your name's not Popovich or Red Auerbach or Phil Jackson, most coaches that win have like one title. As much as we love Eric Spoelstra, he's won 2. That's one more than Mike Malone. So I didn't understand where Sherman was coming from, because all Mike Malone has done since he's been there was win. In the last 6 seasons, he's won no less than 46 games. They've been to the conference semis multiple times. They've been to the conference finals twice, and they've won an NBA title. And barring injury, I have to believe that this team will be in the conference finals again this coming season. So to me, to write him off as just an irrelevant coach, that was so out of pocket. It didn't really make sense to me. Think about this. Larry Brown is considered one of the greatest coaches in the history of the NBA. He only won 1 title. Billy Cunningham is a Hall of Famer, an all-time great. He only won 1 title. It's not easy to win titles. It isn't. Like I said, there's a short list of coaches who have multiple titles, and an even shorter list of coaches who've won 5 or more. So to me, Richard Sherman, I don't know if he did it for clicks or he just wasn't aware of just how good a coach Mike Malone is. But Mike Malone is one of the best coaches in basketball today. If you want to say that Spo is number 1 right now, I'd have Mike Malone no worse than 2 or 3.
All right, gentlemen. Brett, we're happy to have you here on the show this morning. And maybe this might be the best part of your morning, because you're about to partake in making the daily picks with me and Mo. We don't, I know. We don't invite people to make picks with us very often, Brett. So, I mean, soak it in. This is going to be a big experience for you. Are you ready for it?
Oh, I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, gentlemen. We are going across the pond yet again this week. The Jacksonville Jaguars stayed across the pond, so they've been hanging out in London all week doing their thing. The Buffalo Bills are traveling across the pond for a 9:30 a.m. Eastern time early kickoff. The Buffalo Bills, technically in this situation, let me look at my sheet. They are the home team, but obviously not. So technically, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Buffalo Bills over in London. Buffalo, of course, is coming off of the big win against Miami. Jacksonville is coming off a win last week in London. Brett, we're going to start with you. Buffalo or Jacksonville?
I'm going to go with Jacksonville. I think they're going to be the better rested team because they're already over there. I think that's going to be huge. Buffalo has to travel over there, and, it might not, I think that'll have more of an effect on them than it'll take than people make of it, honestly. I think it'll be an exciting game, and I'm not going to count Buffalo out. Josh Allen has been lights out these past 3 weeks. But I think that travel and other factors aside like that, I'm going to go with Jacksonville.
Mo?
I want to go with Jacksonville because, to Brett's point, they have been over there. They're already adjusted to the time difference. But I think big picture, Buffalo's the better football team. Maybe they get off to a slow start. But I'm assuming that if we're going to continue to get the more patient version of Josh Allen, and you're adding back another stalwart to your defense, getting Von Miller back, I believe. I think they're getting him back. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills in a close game, but a game that they win.
Von Miller is rumored to be playing this week. He is traveling with the team over to London, so there is an anticipation that he will be activated for that game. I think much the way you saw, and Buffalo's been playing lights out. If you look what they've done the past 3 weeks after that New York Jets game, they've literally been playing flawless football for the last 3 weeks. But for me, Mo, I think it was flawless football doing 2 things. One, trying to erase the stink of that New York Jets loss, and 2, building up to that Miami Dolphins game, which they completely dominated after the first quarter. And I think you're going to see a letdown this week. Jacksonville beat Buffalo the last time they played. They're traveling over to London. Jacksonville is already there. So they're already going to be ready to go. They're going to be in their routine. I think you're going to see a letdown after the big division emotional win last week. I think you're going to see a close game, but I think it's going to be a game that Jacksonville pulls out. And Mo, we've seen this week after week where you look at games in the NFL and you're like, what the hell happened there? Like, why did that happen? And I think we're going to see that this week with Buffalo. Again, they just put up 40 on Miami. They're riding the emotional high right now. And I think
that is a great point about the letdown. You know what? I should have thought about that, but I'm going to stay with my pick. But I love that. That is a great point. They were so amped up for Miami that game meant more to them than it did to Miami, and you can tell. So yeah, that's an excellent point.
So I'm going to go Jacksonville this week in a close one. And Jacksonville isn't afraid of Buffalo because they've beaten them before when Buffalo's been on these highs and Buffalo's been the Super Bowl pick and all this. So I think Jacksonville kind of knows what they're getting into with Josh Allen, and I think they're going to be prepared, and I think they're going to be more comfortable over there in London, and I think they're going to win a close game. Gentlemen, second game we're looking at is the better than we thought Houston Texans going against the very up and down Atlanta Falcons. I have not picked Houston to win a game this year, but that changes today. I'm going to go with Houston. I like what CJ Stroud is doing. I like what the offense is doing. I like the consistency from the defense. But more importantly, Brett, I don't like the Atlanta Falcons. I don't like Desmond Ridder. I don't like what he's done over the past couple of games, and I don't think he's going to have a great day against this Texans defense. What say you?
I agree. I like the Texans in this one. It's so funny with the Falcons. I don't like Desmond Ridder. I'm still amazed at the fact that they just can't figure out how to use Kyle Pitts. That dude's going to leave that team and be the next Evan Ingram. He's going to go pop off somewhere else. It's just alarming on how they fail to use these key players. Like, the only guys they really know how to use are Bijan Robinson and Tim Ledger. Like, I don't trust in Desmond Ridder. I don't trust in the Falcons' game plan. I don't trust in their coaching. I don't really trust in anything that they're doing. So give me the Texans in this one.
And Mo, I think they're going to take Robinson out of the game plan. I think that's going to be the focus of the Texans because that really is the only consistent weapon we've seen on that Falcons team. But Mo, do you think the Falcons have a chance to win this game?
They would need a lot of things to go right. One, they don't have to get a big game from Ridder. And I'm not expecting that against a DeMeco Ryans coach defense. I don't see that coming. I think he's going to be under the duress the whole game. Bijan Robinson, like you said, he is their one consistent weapon. And I think Coach Ryans and company, they're going to take him out of the game immediately. I'm expecting a big game, another big game from Stroud. I don't think this is a close game. I think they win in a blowout. I think the Texans dominate from start to finish.
Mo, the Carolina Panthers are heading to the Detroit Lions. I don't have much to say about Carolina. I love Detroit. I'm going Lions.
This is the easy one. So I'm going Lions. They're just strictly the better team. They would have to have a complete collapse. Carolina would have to play over their head to win a close game. So that's not going to happen. I like everything that the Lions doing on both sides of the football. I expected the Lions to pretty much win this easy. A good 15, 20 point.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's going to be Detroit. They're just going to end up getting Bryce Young under a lot of pressure all game. That pass rush is going to get home all game, and I don't think he's going to handle it very well. So I think Detroit wins this one in a rout.
Everyone's going Detroit. Next game up on our schedule, the Tennessee Titans are the fresh Tennessee Titans off their win over the Cincinnati Bengals. They are traveling to Indianapolis. This one's a tough one, Brett. You're looking at two teams that have had a lot of up and downs over the first month of the season. It's also a division game. Where do you sit with Tennessee and Indianapolis?
I think this one will be a fun one this weekend. I think it'll be close. I think if you're a fan of the run game, this is going to be a fun one for you with Anthony Richardson and Derrick Henry. I think the Titans win it, though. I like how they looked against Cincinnati last week. I think it'll be a close one. And I think Tennessee will end up kicking a walk-off field goal to win this one. I think this one will be an absolute battle all afternoon.
Mo, you agree? You taking Tennessee?
I'm kind of where Brett is. I think this is going to be smash mouth, but I'm looking for King Henry to have a back-to-back 100-yard rushing game. I do think they win it in a close one. These teams are kind of evenly matched, and the Colts have been a lot better on offense than we thought. But to be fair, they were actually at their best when Minshew was the quarterback. So with Minshew out and Richardson in, even though he's a freakish athlete, I think the Colts end up losing a close game.
I'm taking Indy because I think they're going to activate Jonathan Taylor for this game.
JT.
And I think the plan is going to be to play him a little bit, and then I think he's going to pop off a little bit in the first half, and I think you're going to see things shift in the second half to more of a heavy JT focus, and because of that, I see Indianapolis winning a close game. Next up on the docket, gentlemen, we have the New York Giants heading to the Miami Dolphins, and I will tell you right now, Miami's going to win this game by at least 20 points.
I would say the Miami just might break the NFL single points record in this one. They might just put up 73. I got Miami, and this one's not going to be close at all.
So I think Miami probably drops about 40, and the Giants probably chip in with about 6. So
Hey,
it is what
they got
it is.
Daniel Jones, though. Come on now.
Huh?
They got
no,
Daniel Jones.
But he's going to help them get the 6. So,
Got it. The New Orleans Saints and the New England Patriots. A couple of weeks ago, Mo, I think I might have leaned Patriots in this game, but even though New Orleans is having their own issues at the quarterback position as far as consistency, it doesn't even compare to what New England has going on at their quarterback position. Mac Jones was benched last week. Now you have Patriot fans who want Zappy to start. He's not going to. Mac Jones is their starter. But I don't like the faith that Bill Belichick has in his quarterback. I don't like how the offense has looked this season. And even though the Patriots defense is still good, I think that the New Orleans defense is just as good. And I have more faith in the Saints defense stopping the Patriots offense than I do the other way around. I think it's going to be a sloppy game. I think it's going to be a low scoring game, but I think the Saints are going to win.
I think this is going to be one of those games where the score's like 16-6. It's just, I think the Saints win, and I think they win it by a little over a touchdown, just because I don't trust in Mac Jones. I don't trust in that Patriots offense. So I do have the Saints, and I think this was going to be a really ugly game to watch.
This might have a baseball score. This might be like, I don't know, 10-5. I have a lot of faith in the Saints defense, and I do think the Patriots have a solid unit in their own right. But to Chris's point, I have more confidence in the Saints defense versus the Patriots offense than the other way around. So I'm going with the Saints.
Next up on our docket, we have the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Apparently, Kenny Pickett is going to be playing for the Steelers this week. I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make. Baltimore over the first 4 games, with all the questions we had about them, Mo, with all of the injuries that they have actually suffered, and they're still pulling through on the other side. So give credit where credit is due. Obviously, this team is one Lamar injury away from not really being relevant, but hey, he's not hurt. He is playing well. The defense is playing better, Mo, than I thought it was going to play. So I'm going to take Baltimore here, Mo, and I don't know if it's going to be close because I don't know what Pittsburgh can do offensively right now with Pickett. He's going to play, I guess, but first of all, he's not playing well as it is, and now he's dealing with the injury that he's dealing with. Nothing. They don't run the ball well either.
What do they do well offensively? Like with Najee Harris, they don't run the ball well, and Pickett doesn't push the ball down the field unless he throws it to the other team. So what do they do well? I'm going with the Ravens. I know it's a division game, and normally they're a dogfight. I don't think this one's going to be that way at all. I think Baltimore wins this fairly easy.
Yeah, I agree with Mo. When you're playing the Steelers, you're pretty much playing 12 on 11 when they're on offense because Matt Canada, I think, is trying to help the defense more than he's trying to help his own offense a lot of the time. I don't think this game's going to be pretty. I have no faith in the offense to really get anything going. And as unimpressive at times as the Baltimore Ravens' new look unstoppable offense looks, I still think they have more than enough to get this done against Pittsburgh.
Next up, we have the Philadelphia Eagles heading over to the Los Angeles Rams. Mo, you and I have talked about this a lot when it comes to the fact that Philly, despite not being probably where they want to be, they're winning. They're working out the kinks, but they're still winning in the process. So, Brett, I am going to take the Eagles here. I don't know if it's going to be close or not. I can see it being a blowout, but I can also see the Rams hanging around. But, Brett, at the end of the day, I just think that the Eagles are the far better team, and they're going to win this game.
I think it'll be closer than people expect. I have the Eagles winning this one, but the Rams are feisty. They're fighting in every game, so they're not going to go away easy. I think they'll keep it close for the most part. I think the Eagles will end up pulling away with like a late touchdown in the fourth. But I do got the Eagles winning this one. I just think they're more talented on both sides of the ball.
So the story of the Rams season has been the games that Matthew Stafford has gotten protection. He puts up big numbers and picks your defense apart. And the games where he doesn't get protection and he's under duress and takes a beating, they lose. The Eagles have a great front seven. I think they're going to lose.
Fair enough. All right, the Cincinnati Bengals are heading to the Arizona Cardinals. Mo, it's been called a must-win game by Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow also came out this week, Mo, and he said that he feels the best he has felt this season. He says that the worst of his calf injury is behind him. I think we can both agree that he is talking out of both sides of his mouth. Obviously, he needs to put on that brave face and say that he is feeling fine so people will just stop talking about his damn calf. I think Joe Burrow realizes that on paper they are a much better team than the Arizona Cardinals, and they just need to go out and figure out a way to win this game. Get back to 2-3, get within a game of 500. And Mo, I think they're going to do that. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like it probably should be if this Bengals team was functioning on all cylinders, but I do think they can squeak one out in Arizona against the Cardinals.
So I think you're right. I hope you're right. And I hope Joe's telling the truth about his calf, even though my gut feeling is he's just trying to will it healthier and he's trying to give his teammates confidence going into this game. They do need this game. But I will say this. Arizona has competed hard all season long. Nobody just walks over them. And I expect it to be a pretty good game. I expect it to be tight. But if Cincinnati loses this game, and Joe said all the things that he just said, they need to sit him. They need to sit him. If he's all the things they said, even though the O-line is what it is, then I expect T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. I expect them to be able to exploit that secondary and put up big numbers. We'll find out. But my gut feeling is he's still not 100%. I still think I think the Bengals still find a way to gut this out.
And Brett, I don't know if T. Higgins is playing. He is battling a rib injury or something along those lines. I believe he is questionable for the game. So it could be a situation where Tyler Boyd needs to step up and kind of fill in that second hole, which I think, by the way, I think Tyler Boyd is one of the most underrated wide receivers in the league. So I definitely think he can do that. But Brett, Burrow said it's a must win. Are they going to win?
I think they will. I think when it comes to Burrow talking about his calf injury, saying it's the best he felt, if I recall correctly, didn't he say the same thing last week against Tennessee too?
He did.
The best he felt, and then you put up 3 points against the Titans. So do I think they look much better this week? Yeah. The Cardinals simply aren't as talented as the Titans. I think they do win this game. I think the Cardinals fight, and I think it'll be closer than a lot of people think. But if Joe Burrow can't make it work and win this week, then at this point you just got to sit him because he's been underachieving and disappointing all year. And if this is the version of Joe Burrow you're going to get and he can't even beat Arizona, there's really just no hope for you at that point. You might as well just sit him, let him fully recover, and see where he is when he comes back.
Next up, we have the Kansas City Chiefs heading to the Minnesota Vikings. I'm taking the Vikings. I don't really have a reason for this other than the fact that I think at some point there's going to
the lack of weapons, right?
Yeah, I mean,
come on.
you look at the weapons they don't have. You look at the way that Patrick Mahomes played last week against the Jets. I understand the Jets defense is much better than the Minnesota Vikings defense. There's going to be a couple games this year where the Chiefs just don't have it. And I think this is just going to be one of them. I don't have a rhyme or a reason for it. I wasn't super impressed with Minnesota's win last week, but I think there's just, because of how this team is constructed with Kansas City, there's just going to be a couple games this year where they lay eggs and things just don't line up perfectly, and Mahomes just can't be Superman all the time. And I just think this is what's going to happen this week. I think that this is one of those games where Minnesota really, really needs to find a way to win this game so they can start to claw back into their division race and kind of make themselves relevant again. And I think that's what we're going to see. I think we're going to see a sloppy game from Patrick Mahomes. I think we're going to see the Vikings pull it out in the end.
Yeah, I got the Chiefs on this one. As much as Patrick Mahomes doesn't have weapons, the Vikings don't have a defense. I don't think they have enough weapons on defense. I don't think they have even less weapons on defense than the Chiefs do on offense. It's not a good defense. They're not going to be able to get stops. Do I think it'll be closer than expected? Yeah. The Vikings are desperate. They're going to play with an edge of desperation, and they should be coming out full fire, full intensity, and looking to make a statement this game. But with the way the state of that defense is, I can't pick them to win any game. That's how bad it is. So, especially against Patrick Mahomes. So I'm gonna bet on Patty and the Chiefs here.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs as well. I think Kirk Cousins in the offense with the Vikings are going to put up numbers. They're going to move the ball up and down the field. But at some point, as has been their habit, they will find a way to shoot themselves in the foot, and that will be the difference. I think Mahomes will find a way to generate more one-on-ones with with Travis Kelce. Here's the thing: Harrison Smith, the Vikings safety, great run support guy, used to be really good in pass coverage. But I like the matchup between he and Kelce. I think Kelce exploits the fact that he can't really cover like he used to anymore. I think Kelce's going to have a huge game, so I'm going with the Chiefs.
Gentlemen, I have saved the best for last. We have 2 games left on our slate to pick. One of them is just pure popcorn drama, and the other is actually going to be a really good football game. So let's start with the popcorn drama game, and that, of course, is the New York Football Jets heading to the Denver Broncos. It is Hackett. It is Peyton. Hackett confirmed earlier this week that Sean Payton has not called him to apologize or to talk about the comments that he made before the season began. And I say to that, brava. Because if I was Sean Payton, I would not call Hackett either, because I got a lot more to worry about right now than how Nathaniel Hackett feels about the dumpster fire that was the Denver Broncos last year. Because if I'm Sean Payton, I'm in the middle of my own dumpster fire that is the Denver Broncos this year. And there is no way, if I am Sean Payton, I am going to lose to the New York Jets. You are going to see, if it's a close game, you are going to see Sean Payton put everything on he cannot lose this game. Everything, every trick he has, every wrinkle he has, there might be a point where he just throws his hands up in the fourth quarter and tells Russell Wilson to go win the goddamn game. Do it however you got to do it. Just get us to the victory, because Sean Payton cannot lose this game, Mo.
He can't. Look, Chris, to your point, it might get to the point where Sean Payton suits up. He might suit up, run the offense. That's how much this matters to him. He's not been doing a lot of talking this week, but you know he does not want to lose to Hackett. He does not want to lose to these Jets. Look, they want to win anyway, right? Every win's important, but this particular game for the Denver Broncos, it's personal. It matters. There is drama in this. There's the whole what Russ might do, and let's not forget, the Denver's defense is terrible. The defense that we thought would be a top 5 defense is terrible. If Zach Wilson picks them apart and they lose that game, that's like a double whammy. I lost to Hackett, and Zach Wilson was the best quarterback on the field. I need to retire. I mean, that's how bad that would be. That said, I'm picking the Broncos to win.
Do it, Brett. Take the Jets. Take Hackett.
That man, as a Packer fan, there's no way I can take Nathaniel Hackett. I'm sorry. This is the battle of with Nathaniel Hackett and Sean Payton. This is a battle of two guys that got carried by Hall of Fame quarterbacks throughout their entire tenure. Like Nathaniel Hackett, people said he looked good. I'm glad you can look good with an offense run by MVP Rodgers. Sean Payton looked good. I'm glad you can run an offense that looks good with Drew Brees running it. I think that this battle, it's funny because I want to take the Jets just because of how atrocious that Broncos defense looks. They don't look like they can stop anything. They really don't. And I'll go against my instincts, though. I will take the Jets. I will take Nathaniel Hackett. I think he wins. I think Sean Payton gets embarrassed. It would just be a perfect way for his season to go because this team.
I'll tell you what,
an embarrassment.
In a weird way, if the Broncos lose, but Russ plays well, but the Broncos lose, the low-hanging fruit that is Russell Wilson, it won't be Russell Wilson anymore. It'll be Sean Payton. Russ won't say it out loud because he can't, but he'll be somewhere smiling like because that guy's taking the heat now.
100%, especially when Russ has consistently played better week over week in this system. So you saw him lead the team from behind last week, even though the defense was absolutely atrocious. If he plays well and the defense gives up a game-winning drive in the end, a field goal or a late touchdown or something, you're going to look at this Denver Broncos team and be like, well, wait a minute. Now Russ is playing well enough where you're in the game. And now it's the defense giving up touchdowns or field goals at the end of the game. The defense that was supposed to be a top 10 unit. What's happening there? So that's going to be the next kind of conversation shift with the Denver Broncos. But gentlemen, I leave the best game for last. It is the Dallas Cowboys Sunday night heading to the San Francisco 49ers. Two teams, Super Bowl aspirations. I think it's going to be as simple as this, though. I think the Niners are going to stop the run game. I don't think the Dallas Cowboys are going to be able to run the ball, which means that Dak Prescott's going to have to throw the ball. And if you look at Dak's record, when he throws the ball more than 35 times, it is not good. I think he's going to have to throw the ball more than 35 times in this game. And as a result, I think you're going to see the San Francisco 49ers win it. Brett, what do you think?
Give me San Fran. You're running into a Dallas Cowboys are running against a team where they can match them. They can match them on offense. They can match them on defense. It's going to come down to, can Dak Prescott beat them with his arm? Can Mike McCarthy scheme, make all the right coaching decisions, push every button to get them to a win? And I think the answer is no. I don't think that happens. I think it ends up being a close game. But I do think that it's going to be a costly turnover by Dak. It's going to be a questionable play call by Mike McCarthy. I think the Cowboys just end up shooting themselves in the foot right at the end, and the San Francisco 49ers take this one.
So obviously you know I'm rooting for the 49ers. That's a given. I'm as much a Niners fan as Chris is a Dolphins fan. I don't apologize for it. What I will say is I think this game is really simple. Chris pointed it out. If Dallas can run the football, they're going to be in good shape. I think that applies to the 49ers as well. If we run the football, game over. Simple as that. If McCaffrey can do what he's been doing on the ground and in the air, game over. Because Purdy's not going to turn the ball over. The defense now, to be fair, can you spread that defense out and attack it vertically? You can. I don't know if Dak is suited to attack vertically that well. He's not. I don't think he can fling the football the way a Stafford can or some guys with more arm talent can. Dallas, for them to win, they need a run game to complement Dak. And I don't think the Niners are going to allow that. So, of course, I'm going to take the Niners. I think it's a close game. I think the Niners win.
And there you have it. Those are our Week 5 picks as we prepare for Week 5 of the NFL this weekend. Of course, we will cover the Monday night matchup on Monday here on Coffee and Sports, the morning show. The Monday night matchup has Green Bay going to Las Vegas. But Brett, since you are here and you are a Packer fan, is Green Bay going to win Monday night?
I think so, but at the same time with Green Bay right now, I think it depends who's healthy. I think we really need Jair Alexander that game because we need somebody that can cover Devontae. If we can slow down Devontae, then I think we win that game relatively easily.
I have to tell you, Brett, on my fantasy football team, I had Deshaun Watson. It was auto draft, all right? So Deshaun Watson was my starting quarterback, and I've been looking for like 3 weeks to dump him. Unfortunately, there was just nothing on the waiver wire to dump him for. And then as luck would have it, somebody releases Jordan Love. And I think that the heavens are opening up because at the time going into last week, he was the 5th highest rated fantasy quarterback. So I'm like, okay, things are happening over here. And then he lays an egg, Brett. He lays an egg in his first game with me. So I need this not to happen this week.
I think the key with Jordan Love is just make sure we have a good run-pass balance. Last week, the Packers started out the game and they just threw and then threw again, then threw again, then threw it again. Allowed the Lions pass rush to just key in and just throw off the timing on everything. So when we had a better balance in the second half, we looked much better. We made the right adjustments. So I do think he looks much better against the Raiders, though, than against Detroit.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for. Gentlemen, great morning here on the morning show.
Great show.
Super excited for what we have coming up this weekend in the NFL. Shout out to everyone that was in the chat this morning. Jay was in there. Kyle was in there. Jory, Key was in there. Brett, you were in there this morning before you came on the show. Appreciate you, sir. Coach was in there. Gene was in there. Appreciate all of you. Shout out to everyone who watched us this week over on Roku TV. We really appreciate the love and support. Thanks to Freddie for coming on the show this morning. Always a pleasure to have the man, the myth, the legend, Freddie Fax on the morning show. Mo, close us out.
Hey, thanks to everybody for tuning in. Grateful for this opportunity, this partnership to be on Roku TV. Check out all the great content that we have on Sports Empire Network. Check out the Empire.
We will see you Monday here on Sports Empire Network, Coffee and Sports, the morning show, where we will break down everything that happened over the sports weekend, baseball, football, college. We're going to be talking about it all right here Monday morning, Coffee and Sports. Make sure you are here with us